Well, Mukesh Kapila is a former UN humanitarian coordinator in Sudan. He joins us now live online from Swindon. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, Mr. Kapila. Can international pressure make a difference to what the Sudanese do in this terrible case?
Yes, of course, international pressure, provided it's meaningful, could make all the difference between life and death. For example, the Sudan regime of war criminal President El Bashir is sustained by economic and financial links with the rest of the world. Its powerful military, which is oppressing other parts of the country, is sustained through arms sales, and a lot can be done to reduce his ability to make war on his own citizens. If the pressure is asserted rather than relating to Sudan as if it's a normal country, then I think it could make a huge difference to Miriam and many Miriams elsewhere.
Now, British foreign ministers have said they're appalled at this barbaric punishment. They summoned the chargé d'affaires from the Sudanese embassy to the Foreign Office and expressed deep concern at the recent decision and urged the Sudanese government to uphold its international obligations on freedom and religion and belief. Is that good enough?
Oh, it certainly is not good enough. I think to say the right words is important, but actually Britain's actions would carry more weight if we were to put these words into practice by examining its economic and financial links with Bashir, by strengthening our efforts to get Bashir in front of the International Criminal Court, and to ensure that other links which sustain the regime in power are disrupted. For example, why is the British ambassador sitting in Khartoum, shaking hands with such a war criminal, and why is the rest of the European Union not putting its concerted weight behind this campaign in economic, political, and financial terms? I think those would be the meaningful actions. Expressing concern is fine, but as I think your correspondent said, the tweets and concerns are not going to make a difference to the regime.
How common are death sentences for religious violations in Sudan?
Death sentences are very common, but I have to say that in a lifetime spent working in difficult parts of the world for the British government in my past roles, I've been to North Korea, I've been to Iran, I've been to Pakistan. This sentence, that of forcing a woman to birth chained to the floor of a prison, has passed all levels of brutality that I've experienced, even in other countries where also bad things happen. So I think we have scaled new heights, if you like, of oppression here. And this is not just another regime doing terrible things to its people, of which there are plenty such regimes in the world. And stonings and so on also happen in other countries like Pakistan and such like. But I think this has scaled a new record in that. And I think the British government and other governments in the European Union and beyond need to take more extraordinary measures rather than ritual expressions of concern. So I'm not convinced that the British government's expressions of concern are anything else other than empty words, and we wait to see if these are going to be followed up with something more substantive. Next week or the week after, William Hague convenes a World Summit on Sexual Violence in London. And this is a great thing to happen. But, against that backdrop, if these kinds of things are tolerated and normal UK-Sudan relations, including in trade, in aid, are maintained, then I think this is really to be condemned by the British people in the loudest possible terms.
You mentioned the word toleration. I suppose some might say that it's not our job to interfere with another sovereign government's interpretation of its religion.
I think this is total nonsense and an alibi to kind of look away. And we know what the price is of looking away. This year is the 20th anniversary of Rwanda, where we looked away and contributed to the genocide there. It's also, by the way, the 10th anniversary of Darfur, and the violence in Sudan goes on in other parts of the country. So Miriam and her personal suffering is symbolic, in a sense, of a greater amount of suffering. I think we live in an interconnected world, and certainly we have no right to interfere if we were not actually relating to these countries in other ways. So my plea, if you like, to governments is to actually recognize our interconnectedness and today's duty in which citizens of the world and economic and other trade interests are grossly interconnected. Looking away or stepping away is no longer the option. We know what happens in terms of our own security in this country, in Britain, when we look away from injustices in other parts of the world.
Mr. Kapila, thank you very much indeed for joining us.